Live.
I don't see it on here.
Oh, we on there. We gotta be. It says we're live. Refresh. Good morning, recovery. Here we are. Good morning. Good morning.
Right.
Now, let's hear and make sure that we are loud and clear.
Test.
Yes, we are. Test. You guys know what happened to us just the other day.
Yeah.
We were on here for 42 minutes.
1 week ago. It was an hour. It was an hour.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
it was
my
over an
gosh,
hour. I
y'all.
think it was an hour, 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Look at our table and who we have this morning. We have Taylor, Francesca, and Bo this morning. So here we are, Saturday morning. Come on in and chime in with us this morning. We have a little crowd out here with us too. So yeah, we're going to bring some topics to the table this morning. And if you guys have any questions, just kind of come on in with them because we want to get the questions answered. And let's go with it. So we like to start our mornings off here with how everyone is doing. So we'll start out with you. How are you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing good. It's been a hard week. It's been a very hard week. I have been tested. There have been trials. But I'm getting through it. I started getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym every morning.
Wow.
So that could probably be why this
Well,
week was so hard.
That's great job.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets up at that time in the morning and goes to the gym deserves an applause.
Thank you. Yeah.
That right there is why it's a hard week. I mean, your body's
I was tired.
Yeah,
Daylight savings time.
Yeah.
That was it. And I start my master's Monday. So I think it's just all the things are building but it's good. I'm ready.
That's
I'm ready.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. That's great. Francesca.
Yeah. Hey,
How do
everybody.
I say it? Say it.
It's Francesca.
Where's the
Francesca.
There it is.
Or Chess.
Okay, Chess, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Or
why
if you're
she
real,
likes chess.
if you're really close family, they call me Keka. My first words were Keka Wild.
How are you, honey?
Doing well. Very happy to be here. Quite honestly, I'm very blessed. I've definitely got some struggles going on, family who needs prayer. Love you, Tony. Love you, Nina. Rob in the hospital. But,
Yes.
Even all through that, like my faith is strong. God's got his plan, and it makes life a lot easier when I can just hand it to him.
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's right.
I feel really awesome sitting here with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr.
I love
Oh,
it. Sitting here
cool.
with you guys.
Thank you so much for coming out this morning and joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
Life's good. We have our struggles every day, but I'm doing great.
Yes. I mean, we have so many questions. And I know, Taylor, I mean, with the questions with the public, I mean, you probably get them a lot, I'm sure. So let's round them up. What are some questions? Because we do not get him out very often.
Right. I have several.
Why don't we start at the beginning?
Let's just start
Yes.
because, I mean, what he does every day is not easy.
It is
I mean,
not.
it's not an easy job. I mean, getting out in the line of duty, I mean, it's hard.
And you're chief.
Yes.
So you're the chief.
So for folks that are not from Page County that are watching this, Bo is our chief of police for our town of Luray, and he has been in. How long have you been in law enforcement?
29 years.
29 years. Wow.
What made you do it? What made you go that way?
Not sure why.
Well, I didn't really never set out to be in law enforcement. Growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I got in. When in our era, you get a job at 15, 16.
Yeah.
You find a wife or get married, get a house, get out of the house. And I didn't really know at the time, as when I was a senior in high school, I struggled with things. Didn't know what I wanted to actually do, but I always was wanting to help, serve the community. I grew up in an era where I wanted to be a detective, watching Magnum PI, growing up in my household.
Awesome.
My dad was a preacher. We weren't actually allowed to watch TV until 1980.
Wow.
And it was 6 kids. So watching one of the first shows I could watch was Mayberry, Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
So not that don't relate me to Barney.
That's right. Well said.
But it was a good wholesome show. And just
Yeah.
developing through, struggles in life of, teenage years, doing things you shouldn't be doing. It took me a while, probably about 25, 26 before I realized, hey, I need to settle down and start being a good citizen.
Mhm.
So, like I say, investigations, I was a private detective. A lot of people don't know this. In 1991, I didn't want to wear a uniform. I
Right.
never pictured myself as a road cop
Mm.
wearing a uniform and doing that. So I was a private investigator for 4 years, through a company, Pinkerton, which is out of Central Training Academy in Vienna, Virginia.
Wow.
Once I moved to Page County, my oldest son is law enforcement, Garrett. But when he was born, I knew I had to settle down and get a solid job in Page County. So I decided to put in for a law enforcement career. At that time, I was asked by Mayor Doug Purdom. Actually, he had heard about me, and when I'd moved to the community, and Stanley had 2 police positions open. And I know he was asking, oh, not Kenny's left, but
Yeah.
but I didn't know Pete Monteleone at the time until we both started working here.
Yeah.
So once I started working here, I was in Stanley from 96 to 2000 as a
Wow.
patrol officer
Yeah.
in uniform. And I'm glad I got to do that side of it because I hadn't worn the uniform. So I learned a lot and started building a lot of relationships. And then at that point, I went to the sheriff's office, got back into investigations where I kind of was already familiar with. And from 2000 to 2015, I ended as the captain of the Page County Sheriff's Office.
Wow.
Over investigations. At that point, Town Luray called me and asked me if I would come work for them, which I did. And a year later, I was asked to be the chief. So God's blessed me. I didn't put in for a lot of that. I only applied ever to be in law enforcement. Everything else I've gotten, whether it's rank or things in life, is not because it's just I've been blessed.
Right.
So here I am as chief, and
That's awesome.
So I have a question on that. So you've kind of touched different areas of law enforcement and in different parts of Page County, right?
Correct.
So in your 29 years in working in the field, what has been the change or the impact, the shift that you've seen with addiction in our community?
So, going way back to, from the days in Stanley, I've seen the heroin era. I've seen the pills, prescription pills, pain clinics being developed, doctors prescribing, over prescribing or through that side. Then I seen, the meth. Then we had the shake and bake era, which sometimes I think is starting to come back a little bit. But I think with what we have now and the meth that we have available, it's a lot from the cartels and the borders that we're getting a lot of the real stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But then, I know probably 10 years ago, we had a 5-year period where we were finding shake and bake and people were making them on their own and they didn't know what was in it. Of course, we still do with fentanyl. So I've seen all those transitions, but I think as long as there's humans on this earth, we're going to have an addiction problem. It don't matter. Is something going to come out if we have to, as a community, get together and say, what you guys are doing now, because I don't think, it used to be the term war on drugs. Yeah, it's a war on drugs, but we're never going to win it.
Right.
Yeah.
The only way we're going to get to it is getting to individuals like such as yourselves that have experienced things and getting out, because I don't know that the trend will ever really change. I hate to say it that way.
Well,
But being realistic.
But being realistic.
yeah, and it's such a strong hold. It's such a battle, and it's so hard to stop using. But with support and the right support, it can be done. When you're in active addiction, you feel like, in a sense, like you can't stop. Because you really you try. I know from my case, you try so hard to stop. And it's like I remember feeling or getting the just valleys rise above come into my mind in active addiction. But I also remember thinking, well, I can't stop using no more than 2 hours. How in the world am I ever going to help anyone? I remember thinking this stuff. But I feel like my higher power, God, told me that at that time and set it in my mind, like this is what is going to happen in the future. And who it would have thought, 5-7 years later, here we are. It was like a vision. It was like, okay, here's what's gonna. So the ones out there, that strong hold, it can be broken, and that's what I feel like we're doing now, is just kind of bringing in Page County.
We're fighting little battles in every corner. and in our community. And this is one that, like we were talking earlier, we didn't have, I always said, what is the answer? How are we going to stop it? What's working? And I think it's a lot of many things that come together, and none of us have the right answer. Everybody has different personalities, different type of scenarios. Everybody has a story. And I think just trying to tap in and hit as many of those little things, what churches are doing up with Newport, with
Free and Need.
Pastor Painter, with
Celebrate Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery.
Tim Scott.
Tim
23
Scott.
West Main with
There's
the 12
just so
step.
many things that I see that we didn't have before. And I've with Taylor, I see a movement of people trying to find something, and each story could relate to someone else's that may help. And I think that's what we're at.
I would like to invite you. So I'm very active in all those groups, and then one in Elkton, First Steps to Freedom. But particularly with Free Indeed, Andrea and I are consistent. The pastor has offered us a small leadership position there. But I wonder if you'd be interested in coming, because there is this kind of there's this kind of deceit that, and I'm guilty of this, so that the law enforcement's against us. This is the lie that we're told when we're using. And I just want to take the opportunity, not just to you, but to everyone, you representing law enforcement. And I'd like to say I'm sorry for probably the position I put you guys in. I have, an experience with you. And I do, now that I'm clear, I can see my mistake. We all make mistakes.
Absolutely. We do.
Yes. But I want to take it upon myself to just ask you to forgive me for anything that I may have done, because now I am so grateful for what not only law enforcement did in my case, but what the programs that are out there, JMAT, Strength in Peers, Celebrate Recovery, Free Indeed, what that's done for my life. Andrea Afresh, with the work you're doing. So without you guys doing your job, without the resources that are made available, without God, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I don't mind sharing that out loud to everybody.
Yeah.
But I feel like one missing piece of my story is not having asked forgiveness. And that's a gift for you to give.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think it's a great idea to bring them up to Free and D, because a lot of them do. I mean, if you notice, it's a little, usually down here is packed.
Right.
It's a little, scattered this morning. I think a lot of them have a little bit of.
Well, Bo said something right before we started. Okay. Bo said, I love my community. And I think it's so interesting that you're a pastor's son. I don't know if people out there even know that about you.
Right.
Because when we're in substance and in sin, okay, we view our family, our loved ones, law enforcement as the enemy.
Right.
You're there to get us, which is a lie. So
let me and I'll go back
and come in
this.
close so everybody
I know
can hear you.
some people and a lot of officers may have heard me say this many times, and it's kind of like so Sir Robert Peel, he was the founder of the police in the 1840s, and it's kind of like our Constitution. A lot of things are written now that are still true today, and they wrote those things many years ago. Sir Robert Peel, and this is what I want people to understand. I try to live by this. The police are the public, so I am the public. I'm you. I put my clothes on the same way you. I have same life battles. But the public is also the police. We're no different, other than we get paid to do it. That's it. So when I say that, I'm not trying to say, but we're not successful unless the public's successful.
That's right.
Until we make decisions that, in police, and when I say that, we make mistakes. We're learning. We're human. There's times when you start in law enforcement that you think you have a badge. A lot of cops do, and you can rule the world. Here I am. But we're not that. We're here to serve you. We work for you. And we have a job to do. So we have a line, and it's tough because when we live in the community, that we have to make decisions and take somebody's rights away or watch families be destroyed from the addictions and crime, what have you. We have a life to live. But guess what? I'm going to see you at church, at Walmart. I'm going to face you the next day. And the decisions we make as law enforcement are also need to be, we got to put ourselves in your shoes, even though we might not have walked down the same path, but try to relate to where we're at. And I know in the moment when things are really in a tragic situation for an individual, such what you went through, it looks like we're against you. It's not. I can't say that every officer don't make mistakes at times, but we're human, and adrenaline gets taken over, and but we're human. And I went, and a lot of young officers, and it's just like, it's experience. It's learning the job and learning the community and getting to know and having a pulse on what's going on. And that's one thing that's great about this community that a lot of people don't realize. We have such, I feel like, as a general law enforcement, we have such a pulse on the community. When I say that, family members call us, and that's what used to frustrate me, because I grew up, even in my family, and some really good friends, when there's drug addiction in the family, they bury their head. They don't want, it's shame. They're embarrassed. They don't want to get help.
That's right.
But I always encourage, talk about it. I would have friends who called me, and I'd see a kid that I coached in t-ball or baseball or little league growing up, coached them. And then in the drug world, because we're part of the drug task force as well, I'd see him going into a house, which we knew was a drug house. And we knew there was drug distribution going on. And I'd call my friend or in the community, and I'd say, hey, just letting you know, I just seen your kid go in here. You need to mind your own business. And it would frustrate me. I lost friends over that because they were
my
embarrassed.
family would have been like, okay, I'm writing this down.
Right. But that's the thing. And so bringing it to light and not burying your head and saying, this is our problem. It's not we're not different. It's the police problem. It's your all's problem. So the person that's addicted. So we need to just come together and get it out on the table and help each other.
Lift
That's my
blanket up.
I want to ask, it's kind of personal. So, if you don't feel comfortable answering it, but you brought up a good point. So, you don't understand someone's experience until you walk in their shoes, right? And as Francesca said, a lot of times people who are in recovery or active addiction are like law enforcement are the enemy because they've never been where we've been. They don't know what it's like, but it's also the same way. People don't understand what it's like to be on the front lines, experiencing, crisis after crisis. And we've talked a lot about trauma and the impacts of that and how we go into fight or flight and, how those things then lead to addiction to mask those things. So I guess my question to you is for someone, who's a part of something where, again, like almost every single day you're seeing a different crisis, what is that experience like? And then how do you, not even just for yourself, but recommend to other law enforcement or people maybe who are in that place, like how do you manage that and then still be that human who wakes up every day and goes to work and does it again?
That's got to be a lot. I mean, I know you've had to see a lot in 29 years.
Yeah. And usually it's a tragic situation, whether it's a death in the family, an overdose, or an accident. So I was trying to explain earlier too, kind of going down the lines where in law enforcement in the community with the and going into the PTSD and the trauma and stuff like that. Like I said, if you're in the military and great for all those veterans, but they, when you're in the military, you go see something tragic. It's usually in another land. You kind of come back as a group. You go on a task with a group.
Yeah.
And law enforcement, it may be only one or two officers working that tragic situation, and he's seeing it day after day in his own community. And he's facing the people that either, like I said, he had to either make arrest to or just lost a loved one. So it does weigh a lot heavier on law enforcement, way more than people realize. And we're all human, and there's a breaking point, and accepting that fact that you've gotten to that point. A lot of law enforcement don't admit to themselves that they have a problem or that they have PTSD. So managing it and communicating. And here lately, in the last probably 5 years, law enforcement's taken a step on wellness and mental health and talking about it, because a lot of officers commit suicide, way more than you know, even after the career, because once they've retired, they've felt like they're not needed anymore. That's all they've done in their life. So it's just getting out and talking about it and coming up with programs to get officers treatment and go, officers have addictions as well. A lot of them create alcoholism. So just getting them in programs and creating programs such as this that, hey, let's talk about this. Cause it used to be, we're tough, had the mentality, we were warriors. We were trained to be warriors, but we're not, we're guardians.
Yeah.
And I didn't come up with that. I like to think I do come up with
that. I love that.
But we're, and that's when I grew up in, we go to the police academy, we're fight, but that's not what we do. We're guardians. So, when we have situations like we've had in town before, we could put on the riot gear and it's like putting your fist up. We're against you, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's why I like to take the approach of, let's walk with them. Not that we may agree with everything that they're doing, but I want to be part of them and show them that, hey, I'm here. You have a right to do what you're doing, but we're just gonna keep the peace and let's set a group of rules that we have to follow as law enforcement. And that's where a lot of people think they understand the law or see the law, and I don't know all of it. I said earlier, every day is a training day for me. I'm training right now.
Right.
That's the way I look
great.
at it. So
Well,
That's
so not too long ago, a year or so ago, God started weighing on my heart, and I'll just throw this out there. If there's ever an area where you feel a law enforcement officer could ride beside somebody like me, and when you deal with these situations simply with substance, and we could work together so that they don't become repeat criminal
right.
individuals, I feel like I could really be used, or
Well,
I'd
there's
like
job
to be
openings for
used.
that.
Absolutely.
There's actually
Mhm.
one. There was one. I don't know if there's still one. But yeah, there's positions
Because there is a
for that.
difference between criminals who are criminal and then people who just have, I was told I had post-traumatic stress disorder
Mhm.
on steroids, and it made perfect sense why I
Yeah.
turned to substance. Not that that's excusable, but that it's understandable. And so for those people, they are not by nature criminals.
Right.
And I feel like from my experience in jail, what I witnessed was you've got people with mental health,
Yes.
stress, trauma, but then you have criminals.
Yes.
And then how we live together, it's really interesting.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Mm.
That's yeah, that's great, Jess. And you talking about like like a counselor, like somebody like in the going into like
just somebody who's been there, who's doing
go
right,
with them
God pulled out of
on the
it,
calls.
and can say, hey, listen,
Yeah.
this might be your first realization because you have law enforcement here. You're going to have a record, but let's talk about this.
Yeah, there's some
because you don't
positions.
have to be, you don't have to go deeper in this world. You can be freed at this point.
Let me ask you this, in light of that, with what you went through, would that, if you had somebody like that, would that have helped you in that moment that you're in your life? If you had that person,
I feel it would have been a tremendous leap forward in the right direction for me.
right. No, I mean, that's what I'm asking for I mean,
Yeah.
there is a approach in law enforcement now, and I think it started a couple years ago, where we are trying to bring in more of a civilian side to it.
Yes.
So, just on the mental health side. So it's not a guy in a uniform.
Because it's
somebody
that
in
uniform.
it's somebody in a polo,
Mhm.
Exactly.
following up, because
Yeah.
a lot of times, like I say, when we deal with a mental health situation, we're there when something happened. They threaten
Yep.
to hurt themselves or someone else. And then we show up in uniform and then we take them away.
Yeah.
And then we don't have no contact with them. They either go to a state facility or a mental hospital.
Mhm.
And then the next contact we have is the call back again. And it's another same situation. Instead of getting in. So once they go to that mental hospital or get the help, that's when we need to get back in a non-aggressive approach.
Yes.
And follow up with them so we don't have another call after call after
Yep.
call.
Right.
Instead of just reacting, we need to be being proactive.
Yes.
And that's something that has started with bigger agencies that have more funding
Mhm.
that
Yes.
have a civilian approach with that. But also on the side of that, you got to be careful too, because if you take a civilian and then something goes wrong,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and
There
there's
you are.
and then you have
There we are.
bad situation.
Yeah.
So it's a balance. But I think following up with and in between the calls is what's important, and not
Mhm.
just going to the call and handling the situation.
Yes.
It's
That's
that
right.
relationship.
Right.
It's
Yes.
building that relationship.
But I wonder too, because, drugs are different today
Mhm.
than they used to be. And you've been in this career a long time.
Right.
I know for a fact of the matter in my situation, my brother-in-law, who
Mhm.
retired special agent, he came to me and he said, I'm scared you're going to die.
Mhm.
Fentanyl is no joke.
Mhm.
I didn't know I was either using it. I didn't really know what it looked like.
Everything.
The ignorance
Most people
to it.
doesn't realize it's even in whatever they're
Isn't
using.
about 80% of the drugs we send to the lab now?
But what I
Wow.
wonder for you guys when you come on calls, like 29 years ago, if you came on a call and somebody was using cocaine, drinking alcohol, and it was a domestic disturbance, I wonder what that looked like 20 years ago versus today, because I'm noticing from what I'm learning, people are acting different on these drugs
Oh, yeah.
today.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
even the same behavior. They're a different, it's
Mhm.
almost like you can see the demon right there exposed.
Mhm. It's a scary situation.
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's mental health. I think I know some people will be critics about this, but I think we all have a level of mental health.
Sure.
It's what
Mhm.
level are you? And I think in dealing with it, and I think then also with society has changed. A lot of things what we used to do as kids, us our age growing up around a dinner table, we don't have that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
The kids aren't sitting there getting that moral influence.
Right.
So I think, and with society and social media, obviously is horrible. With I mean, it's a good thing, but I see a lot of way more negative on the social media side that that I think people think that, like you said, the cops are against them. I'm going to find something wrong. And that causes people to react. And the punishment level, what's the punishment level? Are we punishing the right people? Do we punish the addicts, addicts or the dealers, and the level of, is it really I think there's so many, I don't want to say criminals. There's so many crimes or people being punished for crimes that we don't have a system set up. And we never have had one, in my opinion, that is actually working on the punitive side of it. Other than that person realizing themselves that they've hit their rock bottom and saying, I got to change my life.
Right.
And that's where.
Yeah. And I think on our episode yesterday, we kind of talked about that, having the resources now offered more to where they're getting off that elevator before it gets to the bottom is critical.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask is, you're in the public eye. Obviously, personal level, work, everything. You're just in the public eye a lot. What would you say to the critics out there who are like, just putting your name out there? And a lot of people, for me personally, you're a positive role model to me. At one time, you wasn't. Obviously so. But now looking,
but actually, maybe I was.
Now looking back, I thank God for now looking back. I thank God for you, because I'm like, if I was, and I did have that fear of you and so many others, because I was doing wrong and I knew it. And every time I seen them cars go by or somebody, and you probably wasn't even paying attention to me, but I just seen you go by. I was like, oh my God, just paranoid. But
I was like,
right. You know how we all, but now looking back, I'm like, thank God that, that I was scared, and I was the way I was. I made it through. I'm alive and well, and I'm thriving and striving to take everything bad I went through and use it to the good now.
Right.
You're in the public eye every single day. I mean, you probably can't even go out in your pajamas without somebody.
I have a robe. I have a robe now.
Oh yeah, very nice. Nice.
Like there's Bo, snap,
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you say to the critics out there? I mean, the haters and the lovers and everybody, like, what do you say to them?
Many times things happen and I want to respond, but I know that a lot of it's the devil. I know that people are just, if it's drama. I don't want to, people say it's just Page County. No, it's everywhere.
Yes.
But whatever level of government you're in, or you're in the public eye, whether, you're the sheriff or the governor, you're always going to have critics, and it's tough because I'm human. I have a family, and just trying to filter through things that are false, that are put out there, and not reacting and responding. I want to defend and say this is totally a lie. But just sitting back and letting people, because people are going to want to believe the negative.
Right.
I don't care what you say. If they got that negative mindset and they don't like you, or they want to knock you down a couple notches, whether it's personal, political, or somebody that I've charged in the past, I can't change that. I'm not going to change their mindset no matter how much I talk. If you want to be positive and believe in the fact that what may or may not be true, then that's I have to put on you, because I can't change everybody's opinion of me. I have my weaknesses, but it is tough. And it's tough. And I understand that when you get to a level, and I'm not saying I'm a small town police chief. I'm no better than anything. I don't even look at it as an accomplishment for me personally in my life, but I don't look at me as any better than any of you. Personally, I failed the third grade. I almost didn't graduate. My mom told me, and a lot of people don't know this about me. They think maybe that I was giving everything, whatever. My mom and the 6 kids, my siblings all did well in school. I have a twin sister. I don't know if a lot of y'all know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she was a lot smarter than me. And they put us together in the kindergarten. We were together, and I relied on her. She was smarter than me. Second grade. Then they separated us in the third grade, and I failed. But my point is, mom, in my senior year, my mom passed away 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But my senior year, my mom's like, I'm done with you. She moved my stuff out when I was 15. And she said, I'm not doing your laundry. Don't just show up here once a month to get your clothes. I'm done. So I knew then she's giving up on me. So I knew then I had to start getting it right. And I graduated. And for my personal accomplishments of where I've gotten to, but it's not that I feel like I'm better than any of you.
Right.
So anyway, that's a little more personal probably
that
than it
is
should be,
that's
but,
that that's
Yeah.
but I want
amazing.
to be real that I'm not. That's who I am.
Well, that's
And
what this table's
yeah.
all about, real and raw.
Yes, and
So
I want to bring up a point too because I think so we're talking about on the law enforcement side and having that empathy and knowing people, are not necessarily criminals. They're just someone who's struggling and that needs help. But even on the same side, whether it's, the recovery groups or people in recovery or the community, think about the reaction if someone like Bo walks in just to get help, right? As Bo said, there are so many of our law enforcement, whether locally or otherwise, that struggle with addiction themselves.
yes.
So if we're, all sitting at the free and D table and someone walks in
would love
saying,
that.
I need help, welcoming them. I
Yes.
think because, everybody has that story, whether
Right,
you have a
right.
badge or a uniform or not.
We need to be
There's that
I want to be
background.
there. I want to be there as Page County. We need to be in a place where we do not look down on anyone who is out there
Right,
struggling.
right.
To open arms, like, hey, come on in. Let's help you. You shouldn't have to lose your job, lose your family, and lose everything like a lot of us has went through.
Mhm.
Let's catch it before you even go down to
Well,
the
that's what I was
second or
talking about
third level. You know what I
Barry
mean?
Hedden is saying. That's what I was saying. I've seen the community a lot of times, and even like I say, my family. If there was addiction, I have some family members that got addicted. They lost their kids, lost their children, and I thought, well, if I'd have done that, I can't lose my kids. So where is the stopping point? And talk about it.
Yeah.
And if and I see, especially the younger generation, if it's a younger kid that's starting to get addicted or a family member notices it, talk to somebody.
That's right.
Get out there and say and find somebody to talk to try to get it known that
Yes.
that person is before it escalates to the next point, to the next point, to the next drug, to the next drug, or to the next level.
Because
And
none of us signed up for it.
no,
For me personally, I know a lot of us, it started out with getting a broken bone
absolutely.
and it was pain prescribed
Right.
pills. But for me personally, it was the harder drugs, methamphetamines. But I never thought that first hit would take me the way it did. And I was 31 years old before I even
And
tried
it don't
it.
matter where you come from either.
Right.
You could have
No
everything
discrimination at
given
all.
to you in life. You could have the parent, the family life.
Yeah.
You could have, not much growing up in life. It hits everybody. So
Yes,
it's not
that's right.
where you're from.
But I
Yep.
think all of us come into a place where we have no shame to be able, if there's somebody out there right now who's watching and they have it all together, but they're addicted to whatever. And they're like, man, I'm ashamed to even tell anybody. No, don't be ashamed. Go ahead and reach out
right.
now. Let's go ahead and tackle it. Let's come
I'd much rather get knowledge of, and I know this is really going to probably sound contradicting to some other people, but I'd really would like to be involved if a family member or parent knew that their kid was going down the wrong path and get them help before they start getting the charges.
Right.
That's right.
Or, and I know that sounds odd coming from law enforcement. My job is not to catch you. You're going to make a mistake if you continue down that path that will either cause commit a crime or do something that society, obviously I have a job to do and law enforcement has a job to do, because if we didn't have it, it'd be total chaos. But I'd rather get involved in the beginnings,
Right.
even if
I love that you say that, because if you would have showed up at my house in uniform and been like, Francesca, we see where you're going, we know what you're doing, and if you don't change, and I'm talking now, this is what I foresee for you.
I've done that.
I would love for somebody.
I like to let people know. I know you're into what you're into.
Yes,
good.
However, I try to. I'll say, hey, you're heading down the wrong path. But again, it's the side of me that probably people thinks I'm cocky or,
No, I think you need to do it to anybody out there.
I would call you up and say, I know you're a drug dealer. If you don't stop, I'm going to get you. And I don't mean me. We're going
the force.
Yeah.
The force.
Community. It's the community, because we're paid to do what you
Yeah.
guys.
Citizens arrest.
Yeah.
So you're back to Barney.
No,
So-
I didn't. That's funny though.
So-
Yeah, I get you now.
But I would love to, if a family member knew or what have you, to come and say, hey, now of course you have the dealer, the guy that wants to, and I don't really know any rich drug dealers in Page County, but everybody goes down that path, or not everybody, but when you get to that dealing level, those are the ones we want.
Yeah.
We got to stop. We got to stop as much of it coming in as possible. And I think with, the small community, like I say, the community reaches out, believe it or not. And you can call it, I've been on both sides, and I'm not saying to the level of drug dealing or anything like that, but I've lived with, or I had friends who did it. You got the snitch level. And, to me, if you're trying to do right, and I have this analogy that I always, I talk about where, if we're all down here committing a crime or doing an illegal drug together, and the cops come down and we're all doing it, and you got the drug, and I say, it's her, then I'm snitching. because I'm part of the whole
Wow.
crowd.
Yeah.
You
This is
understand what I'm saying?
true.
Yeah.
But if I come down,
Boy.
if you're here doing it and the cops come down, I've never done it. I'm like, it's not me, it's her. I'm not snitching because I ain't a part of the, so
Right.
that's my perspective of once you're, on the fence of getting your life straight or trying to do right. That's what the community is supposed to be. So when I say that, I have people call me, and I'm not, and that's why I wanted to lay that out. They're not snitches. They're good, upstanding citizens who don't want to see drug dealing or drug using or a family member down the drugs. So they're calling, letting us know. And I feel like we've built that relationship within our small community that we get a lot of people that aren't in the drug world, but they're saying, hey, my neighbor, I see traffic in and out of this house all day long. There's something going on. So we do start taking notice of that residence, or we know that car's in that red Impala. I don't want to pick anybody's car out here, but Kenny left, but he's got a great one. But he said, anyway.
Bad boys, bad boys.
I was coming in earlier and Kenny said, Chief, you don't know how good it feels. I don't have to look over my shoulder for you anymore. And that is relief.
It is.
It is, man. It feels so good when you don't have to worry about
the
it.
community does come together, and we do have a lot of people who call us and say, hey, I don't want this in my neighborhood, or it's in my family, my loved ones doing it.
Yeah.
So, and that's one good thing we're fortunate about. Having a small community is, the bad part is everybody knows their business. The good part is we still know everybody, and we haven't really lost connection. I could tap into everybody in here or in the other county and find out pretty much everybody that's I could go to one of my officers. If I don't know who lives in a house, I could go to one of my officers and say, hey, do you know who lives there? Or I could go to another, so that's one good thing we're fortunate about, that we have that in this community. We're still family.
Yeah, we are. That's right.
Wow. I think it's great that we're starting, and I think we definitely still have some work to do.
We do.
But we always will.
Absolutely.
But I think we really are starting to move from that punitive mindset to more rehabilitative. And I mean, when we look at our jails are overcrowded right now. And the majority, it's from substance use and probation violations due to substance use. And so knowing that we're not only, just putting people, away and saying, okay, maybe the problem will go away that way, but we're creating these programs. We're creating, you have your mindset, and you're giving that to your law enforcement to say, we're here to help people, help them get better, rather than just put them away. So I'm really glad to see that that's happening in our community. Again, yes, there's work to do, but I think that we're moving in the right direction.
Definitely are. I'm working with the probation officers too. I don't know if they're still working with it, but I know I had heard through the grapevine that they're training on when relapse happens or something, sending them to rehab, or something like that, instead of straight to jail.
Yes,
Let's go
great.
to a rehab program or something like that. I know I've worked with a couple different ones in the program, and let's go that route.
Yeah, really, because it really just takes time to clear your mind, in that you can only achieve that over time. I was really blessed. I came from a great family. A great mom, a great dad. I had great opportunities. I had a great home, swimming pools, trips, travels. And I like how you said earlier, it doesn't matter if you come from nothing or you come from great families. This is a real battle that's always going to be there. But there's a lot of evil in it, and a lot of secrecy, and a lot of, you said, burying your head or sweeping it under the rug. And I think I'm very proud to be a part of no longer doing that, and no longer enabling that kind of behavior, because that's what allows it to continually grow and ruin people's lives, because literally it will kill, seek, and destroy families, because families is the ultimate, higher calling, right? It's family and purpose. And and I am,
and it's finding your family too. It may not be your actual blood family. It may be the group y'all have here.
Yeah,
that's right.
Your actual blood family may not be able to help you.
Well, that's important, because for people coming out of jail that don't have family or don't have that support, to have more groups like this, we will be your family. We won't judge you. We won't talk bad about you. Law enforcement won't either. So we're all here for your success.
So go back on Taylor's point real quick. I do have the question, because we brought up the punitive side of it. Do you all think, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so don't feel, but do y'all think if you didn't go to jail, if you didn't have that, you maybe setting in the jail and, figuring out where you're at, do you think that would have helped, or would if we didn't have that? Huh?
Oh,
it did? Okay. No, that's my
point.
Yeah.
Page County Jail is, from what I've heard, very different than a lot of other jails and the support. But I want you all to answer that.
So for me personally, yeah, I would have never stopped dabbling. Probably, I would have always had this mindset that I've got this because I was a functioning substance user for many years, and the fact for me that it started with alcohol, which is so socially acceptable.
Mhm.
It's on every street I go down. It's in every gas station I stop in, and it was normalized. So alcohol is where it started for me. Um, I had been arrested, gotten DUIs, but in 2023, when I had lost everything and I sat with those bars and that clanking of that noise and that reality of my freedoms have been taken. I no longer, that was an eye opener for me. If I do this anymore the rest of my life, this is my future. And it was plain as day for me. So I will say, this is why I feel I owe a thank you
But-
to law
Right.
enforcement for what they stepped in and did. Because had that not been done for me, I would have not been on this new trajectory.
And I appreciate that, but I want to tell you, we're just doing what we know or try to do right. It was you. At the end of the day, it was you and God. You
Yeah.
made that decision. We're just there to try to make people go, or I don't say make, abide by the rules that society has set up.
And,
What
like, keep
really
people
makes it
safe,
What
Yeah.
really makes it different, though, is there is a clear difference between particular law enforcement
Mhm.
that have a higher power love in their hearts
Right.
than officers that
It
don't.
is, and it's
Yeah.
there.
And
It's there.
from
I
a
agree.
person who is in a place of need and I the dealings that we have from those that have God in their life have been a saving grace. And I personally pray for the ones that I know don't, because when they come at us with anger and resentment
Mhm.
and that aspect, that does not push somebody who's trying or has a chance to do right. That's not going
Right.
to push us in the
Right.
right
No,
direction.
I agree.
It's only the officers that I've had dealings with. Um, I'll never forget, I had an experience with Trooper Wynnum one time.
Mhm.
And that experience was so lovely that I actually called his superior officer afterwards and told him what a phenomenal job this officer was doing. And I would like to see him mentor others to be more like him, because when you're dealt with love and kindness in a situation of hopelessness and despair, that's what helps us see that there's another way. So
Mhm.
keep up the good work.
Well, and I think that comes with growth as the officer as well. I think there's a lot of officers who, like I say, they're starting out or they haven't really, and I like to have officers who have lived life. And when I say that, they've experienced things. They got a house payment. I'm not saying just ones that don't have houses, but they have children. They're struggling as well. And I like those type guys because then they can relate to other struggles instead of just, being one dimensional. And I do think that comes with growth in law enforcement as well. The more you do it, the more mature you get, the more life experience you have. So I think that also comes with that as well. So I think one thing about too is law enforcement. If one cop or a cop makes a bad decision, we're all judged. We're the only
Mhm.
profession. You don't quit going to the doctor when you meet a bad doctor. Everybody don't just stop going to the doctor. But if one officer makes a bad mistake, the entire police community, I'm not talking, it could be in another state that an officer does something that he shouldn't do. We're judged on the very next traffic stop by that person
Yeah.
in another state.
That's definitely true.
Because it's
I
hit
can-
social media and
Yeah.
people are automatically saying, well, don't shoot me.
Right.
Well,
Right.
wait a minute. I haven't had to shoot anybody.
Right.
And I have to carry a gun, but that's not my goal, my primary tool. It's on my tool belt. My tool is my communication
Right.
and
That's a great
and
point.
relationships.
Right.
That's what law enforcement is. We have to carry those things to protect ourselves in the public.
Right.
But our communication skills is what and relating to the public and building relationships, that's what makes us successful. And
That's
a lot
right.
of cops that they got to learn that too. It's not, I'm not saying but you're gonna have bad cops as well. But
Yeah.
it's so.
No, we
Well,
pray-
that's in every case.
We pray for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know with my case now, I never ended up going to jail or prison. I ended up in the psych ward many, many, many times and had to go in front of the judge a couple different times to get out of the psych ward. And I mean, I was diagnosed with so many different like mental just illnesses. And it ended up, my rock bottom was when my children got taken away from me. And I ended up like leaving Page County for a while. And when I left Page County, I ended up getting my main place of getting like starting sobriety was in Petersburg. And I shaved all my hair off. And I thought every time I go to use, I'm going to just keep shaving it off because I had to get a 6-month hair follic test to get my girls back.
Right.
I got a job at Amazon and I just started every day working, and a church down there helped me, which is actually after podcast. I'm going to meet a lady from Richmond to or Roanoke, where we meet up once a month, and they're like my family. And we it was a rock bottom place. I ended up relapsing for a while, just because my girls were older by the time I got them back, and they really didn't want to be around me anymore. But now, today, we are so close. Me and my daughters are like this. I have a granddaughter. She actually spent the night with me last night. We are very close, a tight family. I'm blessed. You know, sobriety and everything I went through it was hard at first. It was a lot of long, lonely years. Sometimes I still get lonely, but overall, it's nothing like it was. So I'm happy, if that makes sense. So yeah.
No, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
extend
For
an
coming.
invitation to any of your guys if they want to
Mhm.
come to get to know us
Absolutely.
living in recovery,
Absolutely.
so that they can have better understanding as they walk out there on the street and
Mhm.
interact with those.
Yeah.
I think good partnerships and open communication
Mhm.
can really break the disillusions of
Yes.
what
Yeah,
one is
no,
to the
and-
other.
and-
So
We
have
actually was
them
going to do
come.
a class one time. We should do
Well,
that
it's,
again.
again, we're you.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard to understand.
Well, come sit with us.
But I think that's the whole mindset that has to be changed. Is that,
Yes.
and even in law enforcement side. So I'm not saying we have a job to do. We have a line. We have things we have to do, and we have to
Yes.
arrest people, and we have to stop things. But as at the end of the day, the more interaction we have, and not separating ourselves from you guys, is how we're going to be successful as a community.
I
Mhm.
absolutely agree. I
Mhm.
think that's
Right.
that's goals here.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
again, thank you for
Yeah,
coming to
no
our
problem.
table.
Yeah.
And any other questions or
guys.
comments?
I'll just say this on live. It would be cool to plan an event with law enforcement
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
recovery
absolutely.
groups. Like,
Yes.
and we have like the picnic, something like that. And
Yes.
invite law enforcement to it, or I don't know. That's
That
just
would
idea.
be great.
I love
we
that.
could we
I
could
love it.
do that. That would be so awesome.
That'd
And
be
we got
fun. That would be
podcasts
nice.
live where we can travel.
Yeah.
So we could go
Yeah.
around and be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Marching
you.
together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Breaking chains.
Yes, let's do it.
And we don't
Springtime.
judge.
That's
Right.
No
right.
judging, just coming together and
Yeah.
just a cookout.
Good,
Yeah.
clean fun, like my mom always said.
Yes, I
Build
think
those
it's great.
relationships.
Great. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. I hope you guys got something out of today. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely come in on it. We have Valley's Rise Above Cash App. If you would like to donate to the cause here with Jean's house, we're looking to put another bathroom in here. And we're also looking to start our nonprofit here. Celebrate Recovery Monday nights at 6 p.m. Main Street Baptist, Free and D, Tuesday nights at 6:30 in Newport Road. 23 West Main. We just posted that was the actual new, so schedule for them on our Facebook page. So go check that out. Rec Center, shout out to Audrey and everything he's doing down there. If you'd like to donate to that cause, go to Cash App Living Legacy Luray. First Steps to Freedom, 330 Shen Elk Plaza, 7 o'clock on Thursday nights. Another Thursday night program is New Life Recovery at Grace Covenant, Harrisonburg at 6:30. Join us and the Hellfighters on April 23rd. Guys, me and Jean are going. We're going to this off-road group. It's a 4-day event. We are going to be renting ATVs and we are going out and riding the mountains in West Virginia.
Getting muddy with Jesus.
Hey, it's going to be fun. So come on out and join
Uh-huh.
us. I hope everyone
Yeah.
has a happy Saturday. And if you're looking to try to get sober, start sober, reach out to us. You got this.
Don't wait. The best is yet to come.
That's right. Wrong button.